tired of this.
Well, it's
Like,
kind
I'll
of
pay the
silly.
$200. So
Like I tried googling why the camera shuts down, and the only answer I've found that might be is this the sensor is overheating.
Okay, go live.
yep.
Hello, Hemaverse. We're back. Sorry about the interruption. We are going to get this fixed.
Our second camera doesn't actually. Is it? Why is the screen black?
The screen is black. Why? It says that we are live, but there's nothing
Podcasting.
here.
Why is there no thing? Is it on there?
It's on.
Then what's the deal?
So you can see it from here.
We're just gonna fix this.
Oh no, it's this.
1 second. We have our camera guy kicking about. Thank you, Nicholas.
Oh, no, the camera just turned off.
Nope, it's on.
It's on now?
There we are. Should be coming up in just a second here.
20 seconds.
20-second delay. Thank the gods for Nicholas. Without him, we would be lost.
This would have been a lot longer trying to get this back.
Yeah,
up
we are
and
not camera experts at all.
Podcast again. Yep, that's us. Rest in peace.
We're
Stu.
back. We're
Yep.
back. False Edge. We're in Herman. We're back. So, thank you, Nicholas. We're gonna have this fixed by next week. We're waiting for Prime. We're actually waiting for Prime Day, which is tomorrow or today, wherever you're.
Yeah, there's some little gadget doohickey thing that we need to
What's
make
it
this all
called?
run smooth.
Capture card.
He says it's called a capture card. So we're gonna get one of these, and we're gonna run our Panasonic afterwards. That won't have these
This-
problems.
Camera dying issue, whatever it is.
We thought we'd
Again,
have
our
fixed it.
apologies.
OBS probably had to select the new camera manually. Yep, Herman knows what's up.
Okay, well, if you.
But I mean, it's, you know what? We'll get the issue fixed.
Mhm.
We thought we had it fixed today. We didn't. This is a learning curve for us too. So thanks for your
Yeah,
patience.
but this is live stream number 2, so hopefully the live stream number 3.
We'll try to combine them on our program as well. Like that'll take a bit more time. So again, learning curve for us. So sorry it took a second there, and now we'll go back to what we're talking about. We're not like what was what we were at before.
Oh, we're talking about the very first Festival America and
Yeah.
just the kind of things that, and the judging and the things that went on there. I just remember I was actually the first match with this.
The sack.
Yeah, with the Dusac. And the judges there, we'd never done this before. And so some of the judges on the ring were calling the points for, like, when you got hit, and the other half of the judges were calling hits on, you know, when you actually landed a strike. So at one point we actually had to stop the whole thing, and all the judges had to come into the middle and decide, okay, so are we doing this, or are we calling the blows that they actually throw? And yeah, no, it was like the craziest, you know, I think they should have planned that out a little better, I think. But like I said, back in the early days,
No
it
one
was
knew.
literally, we were just figuring this out as we went along.
Yeah, nobody knew, and that was just like from then to now,
Mhm.
right? That was the first real big tournament held here in North America,
Yeah.
and no one really knew what was going on. But it was
We,
cool
we
to be
were
part of
winging
it.
it, like literally flying by the seat of our pants kind of thing.
Yeah, it was cool though. It was
Yeah.
like we had never fought really outside that medium. I fought once in Germany, but this was like really like something totally new
Was
for
that
us.
before or after Hispanic?
No, that was after.
Okay.
So I mean, it was cool. It was cool though. Like I mean, definitely a good experience, and definitely the fact that we can look back on that and think
See how far we've come.
exactly like HEMA's come a long way. That was back when you had to go to Houston for the only HEMA tournament. Now it's like you have your pick and choice. You want to go
Pretty
HEMA light,
much.
you want to do touch HEMA, you want to do harder HEMA. I mean, you have your choice. The smorgasbord out there.
Mhm.
Buyer's choice, kind of nice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the capture card's coming. Don't worry.
Yes, yeah, we kind of figured that out late today. So, yes.
But yeah, Nicholas told us about it. He said we're best to wait for a good special, so we're just doing that, and we use Patreon cash from all our supporters, and we'll get the capture card, and we'll have a nicer picture next time for sure.
Yeah,
we
this
use,
one that won't die on you.
yeah, we use the Panasonic, which is meant for this purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, when we start talking about like what makes a good hit, right? And this is where things really kind of get fuzzy and they community wide.
This is one of the things we also tell people too. One of the things with judging is it's on the competitors to try and make it as clear as possible what happened. you can't blame the judges if you guys come into the middle and just sort of like mill around and dance with each other and hitting each other really. If there's nothing clear, we're not gonna see it, and that's on you.
It is true. False Edge takes a as a thing here. He says, well, using kendo judging and how only strikes performed perfectly absolutely count. Well, that has its own problems too.
Yeah, well,
right?
kendo is they're very restrictive, aren't they?
They're very restrictive, and it works and doesn't. But remember, we also are coming from like multiple perspectives, multiple schools. And, like no like two people can agree on what a perfect workout is, for example.
Yeah.
You can argue it you can argue it late in the morning with whiskey, and you still won't come to an agreement. I mean, so you're kind of like looking at approximation anyway. So the best you can do is really, is it land on edge? Is it martially effective?
Is there
And
enough rotation behind
enough
it?
rotation? Could this have cut a time at? Yes, no, perhaps. Okay, we'll probably give them the point.
Yeah.
Right? At least that's how we'll do it. In other places, it'll just be the quickest flick or touch. Now the judge
Any
thought they
touch
saw it.
counts as far as they're concerned in some tournaments. So yeah, no,
Even
that
flats.
happens.
So I mean, I don't do it that way.
Nope.
I would never fight a tournament in that way. But those tournaments exist, and they're more geared toward a pure sport aspect of this. And that's not really my thing. But I mean, we'll discuss on that later. So what I would say is, if you want to make this a martial art, like more martial art and less of sport, it's kind of like the blend of martial sport. You got to like look at what's martially effective. And I mean, this is why I really like short blades. Is everybody there? They're all martial artists. They're all serious with their craft. There's multiple guys that are making a quick touch with a knife and during the Bowie knife tournament and be like, wouldn't kill. Let's keep fighting. And then when they come in, there's a full wrap stab. I mean, these guys are serious. One guy got stabbed right out of the ring with a cold steel Bowie knife and got up and just like gave him a head nod. I mean, it was like really great sportsmanship. But these guys were there to actually simulate the fight properly, and it was nice to watch. It was a very hard day of judging. It was only 3 of us, and in between,
Yeah.
for 8 hours, it was extremely tiring.
So we're talking about volunteer judging and needing more people to be able to do this.
And that doesn't count your table staff needs and everything
Yeah,
else.
exactly. The people that are scorekeeping and timekeeping and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and the mic is Julian's, right? So, yeah, he's lent it to us. We'll get our own mic eventually, but the mic works pretty well. Hope the sound sounds pretty good. But yeah, so when we start looking at like what makes a good HEMA judge, 3 main characteristics. 1 is sparring experience with weapons, 2 good martial arts training, and 3 some tournament experience most needed. And if you have all those things, you're probably going to be a pretty good tournament judge.
Even in your own club, I mean,
Yeah.
there as long as you're sparring and pulling people outside of sparring to watch, and you can actually go through this on your own and just call what you see and ask the fighters what happened and see how they compare. It's not like it's completely untrainable.
Oh, totally true, right? And I could say, like, just from personal experience, by having our newer people on the sidelines watching experienced guys fight, if I give them a month of doing that and then saying like, okay, I want you to provide feedback to these people afterwards, they'll start seeing and watching and understanding, and then I can take that provide afterwards and now have them provide feedback directly, and they'll be like, that hit was light, you need to get in there. And they'll be able to see these very simple things. But when it translates to where they're going to go as a tournament judge or a volunteer, well, that's really the key, because you'll see them in tournament now, see a difference between a good hit, a bad hit, a flat. So, and I mean, some of those people eventually become directors. Like Demetrius has amazing eyes.
Oh yeah.
He's a strong, he was a good judge from the beginning, and he's a strong director now.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can put him in pretty much any officiating situation, and because of his fighting experience and now martial arts experience, he does pretty well. He can see almost everything.
Yeah, but he takes the things very, very naturally. He's kind of an unusual one.
Yeah, he's gifted. that's definitely
Our
for sure.
introduction to Demetrius, his first day of our classes, we're doing our warm-up and the dude's doing handstand push-ups.
I mean, pretty normal.
For him,
For
anyway.
him, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. But yeah, so we look at judging these guys, a lot of people, right? Like, the more fighting experience they get, the more training they have, the more serious the actual judging will be.
Yeah.
And the better the judge will actually be. And for directors, these people have an even harder job than the judges, because they got to be constantly vigilant. They got to be constantly observant. They should all automatically already be somewhat in a leadership role if not in their own only at least in their own club, if not in greater community aspect. They should not be afraid to take control of a ring from adrenalized fighters. And I mean, that's pretty tough.
That's the thing. They call it a ring boss for a reason.
And you're going to be, well, some people, we call it a ring boss. Some people define ring boss differently.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, as a director, you're going to step into a role with adrenalized people. In your case, you're quite often dealing with adrenalized men and putting them in their place.
I have a big stick. I'm not afraid to use it.
That's absolutely true. So I mean, that is actually a part of this also.
I only have to hit somebody once.
I heard someone did. I've never seen anybody get hit with the director staff, but I've heard it's happened. I've just never seen it. So I mean, usually like you listen to your director. I mean, my favorite director of all time for people I've had to fight under is probably Jeremy Luce.
Yes.
He's very stern, very harsh, but he's good.
Fair.
But
Very
fair.
Yeah.
Overly fair. But he doesn't take anyone's crap.
Yeah, no, he was our director for my Combat Con women's final.
Yeah, he's really impartial, very
yeah.
good director. I mean, but again, a guy who fights, takes things seriously, and is not afraid to say what he thinks, right? And is able to take control from an adrenalized fighter. Because when you're adrenalized, I mean, you're not gonna be completely yourself. An adrenalized person who's normally a pretty reasonable individual can be a lot less reasonable.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Another thing is directors need to know the damn rules, and I've been in many tournaments where a director has not known the rules.
Yeah. Now the only and I've done this myself, where you've been on your feet for so long and you've judged so many tournaments in that one day, you kind of start getting them mixed up.
Oh, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that one, where I've gone from sword buckler to rapier or vice versa, and I'm like, how many points was the head strike there?
Well, yeah, when you're switching between those rules, but I'm talking about just a pure longsword tournament where you're just there, and director's like, oh yeah, that was 2 points. I'm like, well, that was a covered cut.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well, we don't have a covered cut in this tournament. And then you're next set around, and like, yeah, there was a covered cut. But I'm not gonna sit there and berate the director, right? This is my place.
Well, that's one of the rules.
Yeah.
At least in our tournaments, directors are the final say, and if you give them too much grief, well, they'll give you grief.
Obviously so. They have a job to do.
Yes. And again, volunteers, they don't want to deal with your, what's this?
Backhanding a sassy fellow deserves.
Backhanding somebody who's wearing a mask is a bad idea. That's why I use the stick.
Nah, she has a pretty good look. She has the look down.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be done twice. Most people understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, when you have the look, you don't need a stick or the hand. Just the look will suffice. So I mean, at the same time, right? For the most part, people who are there to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So then the question is like, what do you like? What kind of stuff do you want to see in the judge world, right? Like the kind of training that you would have.
Well, that's the complicated part. Is there's so many different ideas on how to go about this. Is that our preference is to actually do it in the clubs, to have people sparring and then judging the sparring in the club, and take that to the tournaments. But other people feel differently.
And realistically, like the judging in the club, I mean, I think is the only way to really train at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a dedicated curriculum for judging is going to work at least in the next few years. And the reason I say that is unless it's supplemented heavily with people training their judges, training their students to judge in the clubs, and training that next volunteer base, I don't think it's possible. So I mean, that's like I know Long Point League is trying to do a judging program. I mean, I'm sure I'll see the documents when they come out.
It's really hard to do that on site. I mean, you can't go in for a day and come out a good judge.
Oh, it's definitely not possible. I mean, even in the early days, we tried holding judging seminars, but it never changed anything. Like, it's funny because we had, like, as competitors and judges, we had to go to these judging seminars in the early Festival America.
Yep.
But it didn't change a single thing. And that was the student part. We always like, well, how can we make better judges? I'm like, well, we could start it in the club. And then I got crapped on for that pretty heavily. But I did it in my own club anyway, so. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the voltage is right. Like you got to be able to. You have to. If you're not fighting, you should be judging. You should be helping out.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, fighting is the privilege. Judging is the work that goes with that privilege.
Yeah, you want to have a
Officiating.
tournament, you've got to be able to put it on, and like I said, the only person who's going to help you put it on are the people that are fighting with you.
Yeah, it's completely correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it is true. It is the investment in the other side of HEMA. Right. You have to have people willing to step up and judge. Maybe you're not a good judge. Some people go out there and they just aren't good judges. But those people can go into table staff. They can be scorekeepers and stuff. Maybe you hurt yourself during a tournament and you're saving yourself for a final.
Yeah.
I mean, we always need table staff.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit down and keep time, or you can like tie basically tie bands on people. I mean, there's like I can tell you in a tournament, it's not just judges and directors. Your table staff are just as valuable.
Oh yeah, gosh, no, definitely. One of the other things we're looking for too, as far as judges and directors, is having experience with the weapon that you're judging or directing. It's really hard to judge some weapon sets if you've never fought with them.
Oh, yeah, this is true. Rapier, we should talk about rapier judging.
Yeah.
Rapier judging is a skill into itself. Like it really is.
It really is. If you've never fought it, taking someone who only does longsword or single stick and trying to drop them into judge a rapier tournament is really hard.
And I mean, maybe at the lower levels, it's easier to see like the thrusts and stuff. But the higher levels, like you're judging a guy like Rob Childs, and he is fast. He's extremely efficient.
It will happen faster than you can see it.
You'll know. Usually he'll land a hard bend, but I mean, you got to be paying attention because like the really good rapier guys, the really high level guys, it's a game of like millimeters, and then they're in, and it's perfect, and it's done.
Yeah.
So that's like rapier. Like I mean, that takes. You have to train judges for that. Like
But again,
even directors, like your director has to know what they're looking at.
Yeah, but see that's the difficulty because one of those, if you're not fighting it, it's really hard to train judging it. So yeah, it's kind of the dilemma that we face sometimes. We need judges, but not everyone's experienced.
Like some people might disagree. I find longsword probably the easiest to judge and direct. But I mean, longsword's kind of like the common tongue of HEMA. Everyone pretty much fights it.
Yeah.
Single hand weapons like saber and stick have large motions. They're fairly easy to see. It's just rapier, I find. Rapier, and then in the occasional tournament you find knife, another tournament's difficult to judge.
Well, because again, the measure is so small.
And the movement and the precise movements.
Yeah, that too.
Right? So like different skills for different judges.
Judge scarcity needs to be addressed. Yes, absolutely.
But you know what, Herman? Most people just want to play. They go to a tournament. They spend the money. They want to play. They want to go home.
Yeah, I mean the number of times that we've gone to events and we've asked people after they've done their particular tournament, can you stay and help us with the next tournament? And I've got to get lunch or I've got to go do this thing.
No, it's more like usually the honest people are like, yeah, I want to go drink some beers.
Yeah, well, it's usually something, and what they don't realize is, okay, you guys all leave, and then the next event doesn't have judges.
Well, or has tired judges, which is more often the case, right? Because there are some of us who always stay and help out regardless. I mean, that's just part of it. And then they're like, hey, there wasn't enough judges from every club here. Well,
yeah, that's the other one we get sometimes. Why are all the judges from mostly one club? Well, because none of the other clubs volunteered to help.
That's actually a big thing. I'm hoping that will change.
Yes, I'm hoping so too. We'll look at events and see what happens. I think at Comic-Con they've got some sort of incentive program going right now where if you sign up for judging, they'll actually give you like discounts or something in hopes that people will actually, volunteer more. Well, we'll see how that pans out.
So first I'll answer Flashing Sword. Flashing Sword asked about 3 brands of HEMA. We'll get into that probably in actually another video. I'm going to talk about that as I flush that idea out. So we go through. Before I really get into that, I want to flush the idea out and then get descriptive. That'll be a video unto itself.
What percentage of your students would stick around?
Parada sports.
Yeah. I'm interested in competing and judging.
I would say that nobody likes judging.
No.
Actually, Corrigan liked directing.
Yeah. Well, he didn't mind judging either.
He was really good. He was really good.
But he was the only one. Most people find it.
It's a duty.
It really is. And at first they're intimidated by it, and then they realize that once they get reasonably good at it, that it's work. It's a lot of work, and it's hard work.
Yeah. And that definitely turns them off of competing as well, because
Yeah.
like we have a rule: if you're gonna compete, you have to judge, and there's just no way around it. You gotta,
That's in our club. I mean, other clubs might do it differently, but I mean, it's the understanding that if you're going to compete, somebody's got to look after, the judging part. And, why do you get to play and be in the tournament, but you don't have to help anybody else be in the tournament either?
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I would say probably like 40% are interested in competing, and the rest just kind of do stuff for fun. I'd say 40% is pretty high in comparison to most clubs of our size.
Yeah.
So like anyone who's in the high level range will definitely will like eventually competing, but it also means learning to judge and learning to and learning to instruct at least at some
Most of our
level.
guys are pretty good too. I mean, if we go up and you actually ask somebody, please, we need some help. Most of our guys are fantastic about it. It'll be like, oh, okay.
To be honest,
they're not
actually,
happy about it, but they'll do it.
To be honest, I would say that's actually the minority of our guys.
Yeah.
Most of our guys usually come up and ask what they could do to help,
Yeah.
which is a way better attitude and it's appreciated.
Actually, no, you're right. They
And
do.
so realistically, like, and you know what? There's other guys like that too, like guys like Gary Ledford,
Mhm.
Josh Frett. I mean, those guys, or
Oh, yeah, they will come out and just.
Anthony Bonomo. Same thing. He'll just come out of nowhere. Chad Herbert. These guys will always be gone. Nicholas is taking his leave. Thanks, Nicholas.
Anytime. Wife's getting angry.
I understand. His wife is getting angry.
We've monopolized his time too much.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
so I mean, we're on our when our live stream goes down the second time, guys, we'll be on our way out.
No, we have no idea when that will be. So, well.
We're on borrowed time until now. But yeah, so when we start looking at guys like that, like we previously mentioned, they're always up for helping and try their best, and they're good at what they do. They always improve event after event. It's what we need to see, right? I have a feeling that like a lot of them will have their students judging also, and helping with table, everything else. I mean, this is what it is. If you want fairness, ideally you have judges and directors all from different clubs
Mhm.
in the same ring, and that tends to be the most fair judging.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have 3 judges and each one is from a different club, you can't complain.
Herman, how would you train judges in short time frame? Doesn't happen.
Yeah, it is just not
It's
possible.
to get good judges, you're looking at months.
You've got to start them sparring first, and then after they're reasonably sufficient at that, then you can start them actually watching the fights and then commenting on it. It's literally it's a very long time.
I would say the process takes 2 months long.
Mhm.
Like you're looking at a good 2 months getting someone to be a competent judge, and they're probably like coach sparring twice a week minimum.
Yeah, twice a week at least.
Yep.
That would be our thing.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Is probably that twice a week at least.
Mhm.
So when you start looking at, but when you look at it, they have to also be fighters. They have to be in there sparring. And they're not going to do, even if you have someone coach sparring from the sidelines, if they aren't fighting, they aren't going to really know what they're looking at.
No.
We've tried it with multiple people. It doesn't work.
Mhm.
And I've been on the receiving end of being judged and directed by non-fighters, and that is always a problem.
Mhm.
So, let's see. It is a big investment, Herman. I am not. There's no way around it. It just is what it is. If you're gonna do something, you gotta do it right.
I judge in my club. I also find the fighters.
I try to judge my club. I also find the fighters are disagreeing with what I saw. What I thought I saw. That's normal. People are gonna disagree. It just means that you need to have one person in the control, making the end decision of what's being seen. You might miss something, they might miss something, but having like a central person deciding what happens can also often help with that.
Well, it's true. Scott McGregor's talking
Yeah.
about MMA, boxing, the judges, or sort of the ring master. What are they called again?
Yeah, like the basic directors in the ring.
Yeah, their directors
They're the
are all
refs.
former fighters.
Yeah, or have a fighting background. You see it. Even the commentators have a fighting background, like Joe Rogan and stuff.
True.
And he's like an accomplished martial artist himself. I love his podcasts. I'm a fan. But yeah, he's like. I mean, you start looking at that. It's true. Like, you gotta have a fighter knows fighting.
Mhm.
That's at the end of the day. That's the truth. A fighter knows fighting, and in order for us to have better judges and better tournaments, we have to have the fighters doing the work,
Yes,
And
both in the ring and outside the ring.
and especially in a director's position. There's no way around it. A non-fighter should never be directing a tournament.
No.
They can't tell what a hit looks like. They can't tell what a proper hit is. Like, they might get lucky some of the time, but when it comes to very fast, accurate action, they're gonna miss it.
Yeah, I agree.
but it's almost 10:45 already. Wow.
Okay. Jeez.
Yeah,
Gotta
we
get
got
up and
work.
get-
We got work in the morning.
Where are all you people sleeping?
Yeah. Well, guys, we're gonna cut it short, and we'll be back in a couple weeks, probably with a different topic.
Mhm.
If you guys want a particular topic of anything, just like write it like down below, and we'll just we'll keep making topics and stuff.
Yeah. Well, give us your suggestions, and we'll do our best to fill them.
Hey, false
That's
edge. If I could get on Joe Rogan's podcast and have an invite to talk with him,
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
that'd be pretty cool.
What if
I
he
was-
knows about HEMA?
Who knows?
Maybe I'll send him a message.
But that'd be pretty cool. I was on my friend's podcast for the Martial Media podcast, and like Jake Brosnan, and that was pretty cool. He's had some really good martial arts on there and has a great podcast as well. So if you get bored and want to see another good podcast, the one done by Jake is pretty awesome.
Herman's gonna think of something. Thank you.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.